What's the difference between a coach at 100,000 or 10,000 or a million and a $10 book? The book you can learn and it's from a specific experience. The coach is actually saying, all right, now how do we apply this and how do I teach it to you in an active way in your business? That knowledge then gets transferred to a lot of the people I work with, so their improvements and skills are now on a higher level. Earlier this year, I decided to invest $100,000 to hire a legit business coach, and these are all of my notes with him. So in this video, I'm gonna be summarizing everything I've learned spending $100,000 on a business coach, so you don't have to. If you want access to this full notes document from my coaching calls, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I'll be sharing it with subscribers in the community tab later this week. So how does $100,000 to hire someone like this even make sense? So let's say hypothetically, AppSumo is gonna be making around $80 to $90 million this year top line. Pretty damn good. Now, let's say Ken works with me on how to work with leadership or how to do hiring or how to structure our planning or whatever that is. So let's say Ken's changes help make us an extra 10% more money. 10% of $80 million is $8 million. So let me ask you, how much would you pay to have $8 million more dollars? Yeah, so $100,000 or whatever it is more than fine. All right, first things first, who is this business guru I'm paying much money to? I'm sure he's got a huge YouTube channel and he sells a Shopify dropshipping course. His name is Ken Coleman. Let's actually pull him up on LinkedIn right here. First off, who is Ken Coleman? I found out about him through A16Z and Andreessen Horowitz. This is who they send out to their CEOs and businesses to have that executive coaching. He's been a chairman and wisdom for past 40 years of Silicon Valley. And so a lot of times when I'm looking for advice or wisdom and coaching, I'm like, who has been doing this for a lot of years that has gone through all the experiences that I'm like, man, I'm a snowflake. This is the first time. Ken's like, let me tell you, Noah, not the first time. It's the same reason the things I teach you guys, I've been doing this 20 years on this internet world. And so after a meeting or two with Ken, I was like, this is different. Let me keep going with this. All right, now let's dive into these lessons that are worth to me millions of dollars. Lesson number one, coach your teammates for excellence. One of the most important things in business as a leader or as a CEO is how are you keeping your team motivated? Like especially nowadays, there are so many options for people to go work at a bunch of other companies. So if you're demotivating people and you're not inspiring people, they can easily go find another girlfriend or another boyfriend or another company like that. So 2 weeks ago in our YouTube producer meeting, I was telling Jeremy, who helps do these videos, I don't like the titles, I don't like the thumbnails, I didn't like all the videos that we're making, a lot of the content, I'm like, oh, do you guys make one of these videos? And later that day, Jeremy actually messaged me and he was like, hey, that was pretty demotivating what you just told me. And so this is something I've talked with Ken about. I'm like, all right, as I'm approaching the situation, how am I actually making the other person feel? And yeah, you're like, hello, obvious, phone's rear, Noah, it's obvious for you, pick it up. A lot of times in situations, what I've noticed that my behavior historically has been is like, if there's a problem or something not going well, I'm just like, that sucks. I don't like it. And I know you were like, no, that's not me. That's not you, but maybe it is. And so one of the things that I've talked about with Ken is how are you coaching up or coaching out? And so it's not excusing underperformance. If something's not going well, it's actually how are you help facilitating towards a solution? And so one of the phrases that I've talked about with Mitchell and we talk about the companies, what's my dream scenario? Right? So using that phrase actually leads to an outcome. Like, all right, well, here's the scenario I'm kind of looking for in this moment. And the other thing the way that Ken kind of frames it for me in a way I'd recommend for you to think about is something's not going well. What's the teachable moment? Here's my thought process. Lead them through it. Hey, here's a teachable moment. Next time, I really think you could have really worked it through this way. And if they're trying to be accomplishing something, ask them the question, what is getting in the way of accomplishing X? I will help you solve it. Balancing celebrating your wins and pushing for excellence. So we had a leadership summit a few weeks ago, and the feedback that I got from the team was that I gave disappointed dad vibes. I'm not a dad. One of my phrases is kind of like the Drake song, okay, next, and the reality of that is that I'm always like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And I don't really recognize all the things we've done or all the things we're doing. You have to have a balance of looking for the positive and the things going well to help people feel appreciated. A lot of times, especially as you get to higher levels of success in any career, it's not the money at that point, it's just literally acknowledgement. So you do need to make sure that you're telling people, yo, you're doing great, and I appreciate all these things, let's recognize it truthfully, and then also let's look at some of the ways that we can improve in these things. One of the CEOs that Ken tells me he works with was this like CEO of a huge bank, and during 2008, this was the only bank not to lose money. And the way that the CEO was able to balance it is through this manner, which was, yo, great job, y'all are doing great jobs, and here are some things we also need to be working on to drive towards excellence. And so I love that Ken kind of makes sure that we bring that balance into the company. And so as I'm working on AppSumo, in my individual team meetings and in our company meetings, it's not about giving rah-rah BS. It's saying, hey, I really appreciate these things that you're doing, genuinely, and here's some things that I'd like us to work on. Most of the time, what I started noticing myself, and even doing this YouTube channel, I'm like, here's the things in the videos that sucked, let's just focus on that. And if you do that, that's pretty demotivating and demoralizing as a team. So you gotta have a balance of the wins and pushing for excellence. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, ding, because I will be posting weekly subscriber-only content such as link to my office hours, behind the scenes of things that are going on in my business, as well as freebies and goodies for subscribers only. So if you don't want to miss out, you need to make sure you hit that subscribe button and that little bell, ding, so YouTube will make sure you get notified every single time. I love you, and I'll see you out there. Optimize every minute of your meetings. So one of the questions I started to have was like, how useful are one-on-one meetings in general? Like when I was at Intel, literally it was meetings from like 9 a.m. to like 5 p.m. And it was the worst, it was hell. And so in a lot of my talks with Ken, it's more about working backwards from the outcomes that we're trying to have. And like, if you think about it, if you're having a meeting with 10 people, like what's that hourly cost of all those people and or the opportunity cost of other things you can be doing? And so maybe it seems silly, but we talk about time a lot in our conversations. And we'll actually be talking about like, okay, well, what are you doing in the meeting? What did you try to get out of the meeting? What was the structure of the meeting? How often do you having the meeting? And so I think this is really like an overall lesson for yourself, which is like, how's your calendar looking, which is something we talk about with Ken. And more specifically, within that calendar, when you're having a meeting with like your executive staff or with your assistant or with someone else you're working with, like what's the context here? What's the goal of this meeting? And you say that right in the beginning of your meetings, and that's something that we do in our meetings. And that kind of sets the tone for how we're actually gonna be having the meetings and things we're gonna be getting out of the meetings. So for example, like if I have a meeting scheduled with the sales team on Monday, like what's the goal of that meeting? Is it just like, hey, here's an update on things? Good, send an email or a Slack or a text about the update on it. But is there a goal or why we need to get together and actually have a conversation about it? All right, what's the specific thing? Cool, let's focus on that and make that happen. Make decisions fast and move on. I actually started talking with Ken before I came back as CEO of AppSumo. One of the things that was interesting from his point of view is like, Noah, you have a guy, Eamon, who's phenomenal. He doesn't want to be CEO anymore. And you're just kind of like waiting around to find someone else and all these other things. He's like, you need to make a decision and move forward. And I was like, I know you're not gonna like hearing this, y'all, but we like being told what to do. A lot of times as CEO, my job really is to hire the people to make all the decisions. And only if there's not a decision to be made do I make the call. Most of the problems that happen in our life, especially in business, is because we're being indecisive. And honestly, inaction is literally probably the worst decision you can be making. So it's better to make the decision, have something happen, and then just fix it accordingly afterwards. Focus, focus, focus. So how should a CEO or how should we spend our time? One of the things I really talk about with Ken that I thought is really powerful is like, you can literally do whatever you want. I'm like, me? Yeah, you, all of us can do whatever we want. So what are the areas that you are excellent in that you want to spend a lot of time in? So for me, one of them is making YouTube videos, talking about AppSumo and sharing the lessons with y'all. I love it, so I'm gonna spend more time there. Secondly, I like marketing. Let's go into the marketing world. It's like, what are the most important things in the business? And then how do you make sure that's either getting done by someone else, or if it's something that you want to be doing, you make sure you get it done. And I think that's kind of like another simple, obvious lesson. And some of these you're like, is this really what you're paying for? But yes, it's actually the valuable stuff. So sometimes it's not some crazy secret that you're gonna hopefully hear in some crazy book. It's actually gonna be something really obvious that you're just not doing. So in your own business, there's probably just a few things that really matter. Let's just say 5 things that really matter in your company. Maybe it's hiring a person, maybe it's doing a marketing activity, maybe it's removing a person, maybe it's actually trying out a new product line, whatever that is. Find the 5 things and then just find, all right, is it happening by someone, or is there an area that I just really like to spend my time in, and how do I spend more of my time in there and make sure those other things are happening? One of the things I got out of Ken is the CEO review template. And so at the end of each week, I review myself as a CEO. I think a lot of times, how do you actually measure yourself? And so I have key criteria that I'm really looking at myself as. And a few of the different things that I look at every single week was my behavior consistent? How did I do as a leader? And do I know my partners, our customers, and our team better or worse? And then I rate myself as the CEO, and this is something I do every single week. And then I talk about what are the things I want to work on next week to improve. If you were able to actually make self-reflection, self-awareness of yourself, that's literally a superpower that you can keep improving as a CEO over time. Where are we going? Destination. What is each person and their team's like responsibility or accountability for it? And how do I back off so much more and really let them be their own CEOs and have that make the powers to choose all the things they want to do in their day? And then I get to go spend my time in my zone of awesomeness. So the number one lesson from this video, hiring coaches can be damn great. One, if you're just getting started out and you don't have a lot of money, books, YouTube, honestly, some of the best coaches for the best value that you can get out there. But being able to invest in a coach and find someone that can coach you, just because someone's the most fit at the gym doesn't mean they're gonna be the best trainer. Same thing with business. Just because someone's been a great business person doesn't mean they're gonna be the great business coach. But I would try to find a business coach who's also done it themselves, just like Ken has been doing it for 40 years in Silicon Valley. If you like this video about coaches and you want to learn more how I create an epic work from home environment for myself, I'll show you behind the scenes. Make sure to check out this video right up here And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you'll know what to do. Uncle Noah loves you. See you out there, and make sure you subscribe. Pew pew.